Hi, and welcome to Crafts with Ash DIY and Decor. My name's Ashley, and today I am so excited to bring you part one of some Christmas tier tray DIYs. I'm even more excited because I am participating in a tiered tray playlist, and I'm actually co-hosting it with my friend Crafty Kathy, but more about that in a little bit. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Also, click the drop-down menu and click all so you're notified about all notifications. All right, let's get started with these Christmas-themed tier tray DIYs. This first DIY is so easy. I picked up one of these little ceramic little red trucks from the Dollar Tree, and I squealed when I saw this. I thought it was so cute. So yes, it is already red, but it was kind of too bright for me. So I decided to go ahead and paint it in that crimson color from Waverly. After my truck was dry, I took a makeup sponge and dipped it in some Waverly Antique Wax, and I just kind of dabbed it all over my truck just to give it that antique, dirty, rustic look like a little red truck would have. Then, to give it that little Christmas touch and that winter touch, I actually took that makeup sponge, dipped it in some white Waverly chalk paint, and I dabbed that all the way around my truck too to give it that snowy look. So I really loved how easy this was to make. And, you know, of course, you got to have a little red truck on your Christmas tier tray because that's the holiday that started it all, I feel like, with the little red truck. Let me know down in the comments, are you a little red truck person? I never was, but I am one to jump on to trends late, I guess. So in the last year, I definitely have been loving those little trucks, those little red trucks. So next, I took this little branch that I had left over, and I'm just kind of giving it a little haircut so it's not so crazy and wild. And then I'm going to, well, of course, I have to clean up my mess with my little ladybug. And then I'm going to make it into a little wreath, and I'm just going to hot glue the ends together. And I'm going to hold it there. That way the glue goes ahead and sets up. And then I'm going to take that white makeup sponge again, and I'm just going to dab it all over to make it look flocked. And you're going to see I go on a flocking frenzy this Christmas because I love it when things look flocked. Next, I'm going to take this little pitberry garland, and I'm just going to cut off a little piece of it and then wrap it all the way around my little wreath. And you can just see I'm winding it around. And then once that's done, I'm going to hot glue this wreath to the front of my little red truck. And now the truck has a cute little wreath. So, like I said, this is so festive, and it's funny about the whole flocking thing because I live in Northeast Ohio, and yes, we do get a lot of snow, and I absolutely hate it because I hate snow. I hate driving in it. It does give me true anxiety. I've had to pull off on the side of the road before, call my dad. I would be crying. So yes, I absolutely hate snow, but I like the look of it on DIYs. So of course we got to add a little tree. Now, I do have bottle brush trees, but I'm saving them for a big DIY I'm going to do, so I didn't want to use them. So I'm going to create my own little tree by cutting off some branches off of that little mini tree. And I ended up using 4. And what I'm going to do is just basically put all the tips together up top and just wind it around each other and kind of bring it to a point so it looks like a tree, just like that. And then again, I'm going to take that white chalk paint and I'm going to dab it all over my little tree to give it that flocked look. And then all there was left to do is stick it in the back of my little red truck. So this DIY, like I said, is super easy to do. If you see these little red trucks at the Dollar Tree, pick up a few because you can always paint them to be different colors throughout the year. So I think that would be really fun. So like I said, I love this. Now you're going to have to wait till the very end to see the final reveal of all of these little tier tray DIYs. For my next DIY, I'm going to use these little pumpkins that I had left over from fall, and it did have some glitter, so I'm just going to go ahead and sand that glitter off. And then I'm going to take the bow and the stem off the top, and those just break right off. You just tilt it back and it pops right off. So then I'm actually going to flip my little pumpkins over, and I'm going to use a hairdryer and my scraper to get those stickers off. And you guys know my gripe about the stickers. It's a pain. But if you keep just, heating it up, scraping it off, eventually they will come off. So after I got the stickers off, I'm going to take my crimson chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the orange pumpkin with that. Now I'm only going to paint the sides and the back. Now you could actually probably skip painting the sides. I thought I was going to do something different. So you actually don't have to paint the sides, just the back of it. And then I'm going to use my Christmas green apple barrel paint, and I'm going to paint the green one. And again, you could just paint the back. Real quick, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you're new, thank you so much for choosing to stop by today. I really hope that you stick around with me for a while by subscribing to my channel. And if you're coming from the playlist, hi, hello, thank you so much for coming. Also, if you're returning, you know I love you, you know I appreciate you. Please keep leaving me comments and liking my videos. I truly appreciate all of your support. All right, so after my pumpkins have dried, I took some scrapbook paper and I just cut a square around it, enough to fold it up and over. Now I'm going to apply a good layer of Mod Podge to the part that I did not paint, because we are going to cover these and wrap them like presents. Now I did use scrapbook paper for this. I would maybe recommend using actual wrapping paper because it would probably be a lot easier to work with because it's thinner. So as you can see, I'm just going to wrap around. Now I did not have enough to actually wrap the back of the present. That's why I just painted the back. But if you had wrapping paper, you would probably have enough to do that. But basically, I'm just going to wrap these little pumpkins how you would wrap a present, and it was so easy to do. I also used some hot glue at the thicker parts. So you can also do that too, which you'll see. And then I just made sure that it wrapped in the back. So after I had my little green one wrapped, I'm going to do the same thing to the red one. And all of the scrapbook paper that I use usually comes from Hobby Lobby. So if you're looking for it, that's where I got it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put my pumpkin on one little corner of the paper, cut enough so I can wrap it. And it'll go around the sides. And then I'm going to flip it over and just wrap it like a present. Now you do want to make sure that you do put a generous amount of Mod Podge because, like I said, this scrapbook paper is thick. So I did do the longer sides first, and then I will go and do the corners. Now this one, these were a little bit, I had to play with it a little bit more because of those angled edges. I mean, it wasn't hard to do. You just have to play with it. But if you made this DIY with just like a regular square or rectangle, it would be so much easier to wrap because then you wouldn't have those little corners there. But I just thought that these made for really cute presents because it's different, and it was using something that I already had. And it was, using leftover fall things. So you might be able to still find these in the stores now. So as you can see, I'm just trimming down, hot gluing the corners. And I really am paying attention to those corners because I do not want those to fall, or to lift up, sorry. And this DIY did not take me long to make at all. And I really love the effect that it gave. All right, so after my presents were done, it's time to add some ribbon. So I'm gonna take this red sparkly ribbon, and I thought this was so pretty, but I do need to cut it down just a little bit. Now just beware, this does shed a little glitter, so just, keep that in mind when you open it. But the first thing I did was go ahead and cut off the ends, the wire part, and then I'm going to wrap it going long ways and then going the wide way around, just like how you would wrap a present. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my ribbon down to the middle of my green present. Now for this ribbon, you definitely want to use a something to push the hot glue down, because it was, it can get on your fingers and it could burn you. So I have my little silicone thing somewhere. I do pull it out eventually. So then I'm going to cut off another piece. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to cut off the wire on that piece, and then I'm going to hot glue it going the other way, up and down. And I am making sure to glue it in the back of my presents. There we go. There's that little makeup thing. That way it's not seen. Now my tier trays, they're always in a corner somewhere, so the backs are never seen. So that's why you're going to see me not finish the backs, because I don't need to. I don't like to waste the paper. I don't like to waste the paint if I don't have to. All right, next I'm going to take a piece of twine, and I'm just going to wrap it going long ways and short ways, and then I'm going to tie it in the back. And this is just to give it that rustic feel. And that way it kind of ties in, no pun intended, but it ties in with the rest of my DIYs on my tray. I am going for traditional colors, red, white, and green, but rustic. So you're going to see me using a lot of that Waverly antique wax and, just kind of making it very antique looking. So then I'm going to take another piece of twine. I'm going to wrap it around my finger several times, and I'm going to make a bow. Tie it off in the middle, and then I'm just going to hot glue that to the middle where the twine meets. Now, I'm not the best at making bows, so you're going to see that I make the same type of bow throughout this whole video, but, it's just the easiest one for me to make. And then I'm just going to cut off my little tails. Next, I'm going to take that other one, and I'm going to actually take a piece of burlap. I'm going to cut off the seams there, and then I'm going to cut that in half because I want them to be just a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to wrap it the same way, but this time the present is going to be shown going up and down. So we have the first present that I did going long ways, and now this one's going to be sitting up vertically, if that makes sense. But you'll see in just a minute. So I'm just going to wrap one piece of that burlap going the long ways. And I don't know if you caught it, but I did also take string off of the edges just like that because I wanted this to look frayed as well. So I'm just going to glue that down. I had a bunch of twine stuck to my little thing. And then I'm going to do the same thing and go the other way. There we go. Now I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but I'm going to use white cotton twine this time. I'm going to tie it around and then twist it in the front and then go the other way. See how I made that twist? And now I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to bring it back to the front and I'm going to tie it off in the middle. And then I'm going to just use my fingers to make another bow. Now I kind of had to adjust my strings here because I wanted to make sure that it was in the middle of the burlap, just like that. Now I didn't like how the one piece had just one string and then the second was doubled, so I went ahead and added another string so that way it all matched. There we go. All right, now I'm going to take a bigger piece and I'm just going to go ahead and make that simple bow. I'm going to wrap it around 4 of my fingers. I'm going to take another piece, tie it off in the middle. And like I said, this is just the easiest type of bow for me to make because I'm not a good bow maker. All right, so now you can see that I'm actually going to glue the bow so my present is going up and down. And I'm just going to cut off all the other little pieces and then cut down my tails. There we go. All right, now I decided I was going to add a little wooden piece. Now I do start off with this gold sparkly star, but you're going to see I'm going to change it in a second. To the other present, I'm going to add this little natural candy cane. I just kept them natural. I really liked the contrast in that. So now you can see I took off the gold and I'm just adding a natural star. Now you can see that they do stand on their own, but I did want to add a little tumbling tower block to the back just to kind of help it stand even better. So I felt like I wanted to add just one more little piece just to really make it look like presents, like those are presents. So I took this little chalkboard tag that I got in a pack from the Dollar Tree and I'm just cutting it down to make it more proportional to my presents. And I'm going to cut it in the shape of a little gift tag. So you know it is angled at the top. And then, like I said, I'm just going to cut it down so it is proportional to my tags. And then the first one that I cut, I'm just going to use that as a guide to cut another one to put on my other present. So I'm just going to cut it around. Next, I'm going to take my white paint marker and I'm just going to make a little border around the edges of my little tags just to make them pop a little bit more. Now this paint did not want to grab onto this chalkboard finish or whatever this finish was, so I did have to go over it a couple times. Then once that was dried, I went ahead and hot glued my little tag to my little present. And I thought that that kind of made it more look like a little present. I could have written on it and said to and from or, you know, something like that, but I just kind of left it simple, and after those were glued on, that was it. That completed these little faux presents, perfect for my tiered tray. And I thought that these were so cute, and these are good layering pieces too, so you could put things in front of them as well. All right, so like I said earlier, today I am taking part in this Christmas tier tray decor playlist with these wonderful, wonderful crafters. We have Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie, Kathy Jo DIY, Make It with Micah, and Crafty Cove. I am the co-host and Crafty Kathy is the host. She is the one who put all of this together. I'm going to have the link to her channel in my description box below, but please make sure to hop on over there, show her some love, and in the comments, let her know that I sent you. I will also have the link to the playlist in my description box below, so please go ahead and watch all of the other wonderful women and their videos, because if you want some Christmas tier tray decor ideas, we've got it for you. If you're coming over from their channels, welcome and thank you so much for stopping by. Let's get back into these tier tray DIYs. For my next DIY, I'm actually going to be reusing something that I made, and I'm going to be redoing it. And so I'm going to start off with this glass plate. I believe it's like a candle holder. And I'm going to paint the bottom of it, so the underneath part, and around the edges with my Waverly chalk paint in white. Once that dried, you can see that I did add some letters, but ignore that because I'm actually going to be taking that off for this new DIY. But I added some Mod Podge to the inside rim of my plate, and then I'm just going to add some Epsom salt to make it look like snow. So I'm going to go all the way around the inside of that little glass. All right, now fast forward to today and today's DIY. I went ahead and scraped off that snow that you saw on there, the letter, and I cut out this vinyl from my Cricut. It says Cookies for Santa, because of course on a Christmas tier tray, you have to have a Cookies for Santa plate. So I went ahead and put that decal right in the middle of my glass plate. Now I'm going to take this red and white baker's twine, and I'm just going to hot glue that to the edge or the rim of my little plate. And I'm going to go all the way around. So for my tier tray, I try to think of anything that reminded me of Christmas, and I try to hit on every single part. So I made DIYs to kind of represent everything I could think of. All right, so once I got back to the top, I went ahead and cut it off. And then I just kind of moved it around to make sure that it was in the middle of the rim. Next, I'm going to take a piece of greenery. Again, I'm using pieces from this little tray because I don't have any like little garland pieces, so I'm going to have to use these. And then I just cut a little branch in half. I'm going to glue one half going one way and the other half going the other, just like that. And then I'm going to take a longer string of the baker's twine and make one of my little bows. Then I'm going to tie it off in the middle there. And then once I had that all tied together, I'm going to hot glue that to the middle of my little greenery piece. Now, of course, this is just for display only. I will not actually be putting food on this plate, especially since there's Epsom salt all the way around it. Now I'm just going to cut off the tails, kind of fix my little loops. Then, of course, I'm going to go ahead and flock my little branches here, my little garland piece. And then I did kind of dab around on the inside of the plate and kind of over the wording as well. Next, I'm going to take this little gold bell. I'm going to hot glue that to the middle of my bow, and then I'm going to take that white paint, and just to dull down the gold bell, I'm going to go ahead and hit that with that white paint too. And that was it for this little Cookies for Santa. Now, I did want it to stand, so to do that, I'm just going to hot glue a tumbling tower piece on the back. I actually hot glued two together, and then I'm just going to hot glue that to the back of my plate, and it stood up perfectly. Now, you can also use one of those plate holders that the Dollar Tree sells, those little stands, but I didn't have one, so this is what I used, and it worked out just fine. And I did go ahead and paint the tumbling tower blacks white so it would blend in. But then after that, this little DIY was complete, and I love how this turned out. It was so, so cute. And it was so festive too. All right, so of course, if you have Cookies for Santa, you have to have milk for Santa. So I took this candle that I actually found at the Dollar Tree, and look, it looks like a glass with milk in it. How perfect. So again, I made this little decal from my Cricut, and this one, it says Milk for Santa. Both of these decals, by the way, came from Cricut Access. You do have to have a subscription to get it, but in my opinion, it's totally, totally worth it. So I did not create these images. They're just in that Cricut Access. So you could definitely just go to images and type in Milk for Santa and search just like that. So after I had my decal on, I'm going to take that red and white baker's twine again, and I'm just going to wrap it a few times around the top of my glass, and then I'm going to cut it off and glue it to the back. And I did realize that I kind of put the baker's twine a little lower on the glass. I meant to put it up a little higher, so you're going to go see that I go through and actually hot glue it up just a little higher up on my glass. But look, I mean, when I saw this candle, I knew I just knew Milk for Santa. And I made if you remember in my pumpkin spice tiered tray video, I made a pumpkin spice frappuccino with one of these candles as well. So I thought that this was perfect. So now I want this to match my little cookies for Santa plate, so I'm going to just basically do the same thing. I took a piece of branch and I'm going to hot glue it to the top. Then again, I'm going to run my white paint over it, give it that flocked look, and then I'm going to go over the lettering a little bit. Then I'm going to take more of that baker's twine, I'm going to make a bow, and then I'm going to hot glue that in the middle of my little branch. So like I said, I wanted this to look like a set. And then I'm just going to cut off the extra pieces, cut down my tails. There we go. Then I'm going to add a bell to this one as well. And this time I'm actually going to dab it with that white first. Then go ahead and add it. Then to complete it, I'm going to stick my hot glue gun in the candle to make a hole. Now I didn't put hot glue in there. I was just using it to melt a hole. Then I'm going to take this red and white straw and just put it in there, cut it down to size, and that's it. Now we have this cute little set for Santa. Perfect for my tiered tray. All right, now you know I got to do the book stacks. So I'm going to take this crate that I got from the Dollar Tree. I removed the sticker on the bottom, which is now going to act as our top. And I'm going to paint the front where the slats are and the sides with my Waverly chalk paint in white. This is your friendly reminder that if you're loving what you see so far, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Not only does it really help my channel to grow, but it tells YouTube that you like what you see and you want to see more. So smash that like button. All right, after my paint was dry, I used these little stickers from the Dollar Tree to spell out "'Tis the Season," and I put one word on each of the slats, and you can see that I'm pushing it all the way to the right. Now, this is a great alternative if you do not have a Cricut or a cutting machine. You can do this method as well. This is exactly what I did before I got my Cricut. So I'm just making sure it's all lined up. And then once the letters were pushed down really, really well, you want them to really be pushed down. I'm going to take that crimson chalk paint from Waverly. I'm going to paint the top slat and the top of my crate, which is actually the bottom, but now it's the top, you know. And I'm going to give that a good coat. Now I am trying hard not to get it on the white parts, the sides. That would be like the pages. And then I'm also going to paint that bottom slat as well. Next, I'm going to take that Christmas green paint and I'm going to carefully paint the middle section. And I am trying not to get it in the little indents there, although it was kind of hard not to. And if it did, that's okay. I'm going to go back and fix it. But I actually did do 2 coats of that green. So you can see I'm taking my baby wipe and just wiping it. And then I did get some green on the red. I do go back and fix all that. All right, after my books were dry, it was time to take all of those stickers off. This is my favorite part because I love the big reveal. So now it says "'Tis the Season" in white. Those little stickers from the Dollar Tree are perfect size for these little stacked books. Now I'm going to take a really tiny brush, very, very tiny brush. I'm going to dip it in some black paint, and I'm going to paint the inside of those little slats just to kind of show the separation between the 3 books. After all my paint was dry, I'm going to take my sanding block and I'm going to sand the front of it just to kind of, again, give it that rustic look. Then I'm going to take my Waverly Antique wax and my makeup sponge, and I'm going to dab all the way around the sides and on the front too. And you can see I'm taking my finger and rubbing it in as well, just to give it that antiqued look. Now, if you don't like the rustic or antique look, you absolutely do not have to do that. I just love a rustic Christmas. I'm also going over the top. Then I'm going to flip it over to the sides, and I'm going to make lines going horizontally to make it look like pages. And then I did go over my words as well. Next, it's time to dress my book stack up. So I'm going to take this beautiful ribbon, and it's holly, I believe, Christmas holly and berries, and or mistletoe maybe, I'm not sure. And then I'm just going to hot glue it going around my book stack to hide those holes on the side. So I'm going to hot glue it down in the stack, and then go up and around to the and down to the other side. And I'm not putting hot glue on all of it, just in little areas, just to go ahead and adhere it down. And I am pulling it taut so that way it's really glued down and there's no wrinkles. After my ribbon was glued down, I'm going to take another one of these branches again, and I'm going to actually put 2 branches together. I'm going to just twist them together to make it a little longer, and then I'm going to make a loop and put the ends of the branches down in the front. I wanted something to be hanging in the front, so I thought that was perfect, and then I'm just going to hot glue it down. So you can see like it's a little loop, and then the tails are in the front, just like that. And then I'm going to take this pick that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it has some berries, it has some pine cones, and these little vines. So I'm going to go ahead and hot glue those to the top of my little garland branch. And then I'm going to hot glue the pine cones and the berries right on the top. And I am using a lot of hot glue because obviously I want this all to be secure. And I loved these little picks from the Dollar Tree because it basically has everything you need right there in the pick. And it's really pretty too. And I don't know if you can tell, but it does have some gold little sparkles on the pine cones too. So then I'm just going to hot glue my pine cone right in the middle. And then I'm going to go flock crazy, and I'm going to take my makeup sponge with my white paint, and I'm going to dab it all over the greenery, the berries, the pine cones, and those little vines. I just feel like adding that flocked look brings up a DIY or brings up a piece so much. I just think it makes it look so neat. Then I love that so much, I'm going to go around the edges of my book stack too. So I'm going to go down the sides. And I am paying attention to the corners because I really wanted it to look like a lot of snow collected in the corners, if that makes sense. So I am going to go around all of the edges, just like that. Then I felt like I needed to top this off with a bow, so I made one of those bows with twine, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the front of my pine cone. And there we go. Now we have a little book stack. Oh, I forgot I did add a little bell in my little bow as well. And look how cute and festive and fun this turned out. Oh, I love it. All right, now this DIY I actually made in a video for Christmas in July. And so I thought I'd add it in here because it is perfect for a tier tray. So I have this little house from Dollar General, and you can see that I went ahead and pulled off the roof part. Then I traced it on some of this scrapbook paper and Mod Podged it on. Then I'm going to take some sandpaper and I'm going to sand the edges. That way this paper has a nice clean cut. And then I took my Waverly chalk paint in white and I decided to paint the edges. Next, I want to make the roof a little bigger, or a little thicker, I should say. So I'm just taking these little blocks from the Dollar Tree and I'm just going to hot glue them down on my roof. And I ended up putting 6 blocks on each side. And I did make sure that the last block was hanging over just a little bit. Then I went ahead and painted those with my white paint as well. And then I went ahead and added some white paint to the bottom to give it that snowy effect. Next, I took this sheet of scrapbook paper from the from Hobby Lobby, and there was this little section that says "'Twas the night before Christmas" and all through the house. So I cut that off. And now I just Mod Podged that on to the front of my house. Just like that. And I made sure to put Mod Podge on the front of it as well so it would stick down. Next, I made a little wreath. Of course, I'm going to dab it with some of my white chalk paint to give it that snowy effect. And then I'm just going to hot glue that to the top of my house. Next, I'm going to take some of these pit berries and I'm going to pull them off the vine and I'm just going to simply hot glue them all the way around the wreath. My viewers loved this DIY in my other video. That's why I really wanted to include it in this one because it's one of my favorites as well. Next, I'm taking some hot glue and I am hot gluing some Epsom salt to the front and the top of my roof. Again, to give it that snowy look. Now, I even decided to hot glue some of that Epsom salt to the bottom of my little house as well. And then I added a little bow on, and I thought it came out so cute. Okay, now it's time for the final reveal. What do you think? I absolutely love how all of these tier tray DIYs came out today. I thought that they were so cute and festive and fun. And like I said, I really tried to pull from all areas of Christmas. Just when you think of Christmas, what do you think of? And I really tried to make a DIY to represent each part. And like I said, this is part 1, so stay tuned for part 2 because I have a ton more Christmas tier tray ideas coming up. I just had so many ideas in mind, I couldn't fit it all in one video. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe and stay tuned for that. You're going to have to let me know down in the comments, what do you think of all of these DIYs? Which one was your favorite? Are you planning on doing a Christmas tier tray this year? And what is your theme if you're planning on doing one? I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, I am part of a playlist, so please don't forget to check out that playlist in the description box below. Thank you to all the women that participated, and thank you to Kathy from Crafty Kathy for hosting and putting it all together. I had a lot of fun. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and hey, share it with your friends. They may want to see some fun DIYs as well. Well, until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!